Second key is, you said I had an hour and a half, right? The second key is body language. Now there's a lot of stuff in the book about body language, different things, and it ties in with personalities. You can tell a lot about a person's personality by the things they do with their body. A high D personality will use their hands and they use power gestures. They will a lot of times dagger you when they're talking to you. They will do palms down, which is a very dominant gesture. You know, when I'm talking to you and I'm making a point and my hands are down like that, or I do that, you know, I'm stabbing people, I'm controlling people, the whole thing. Now there are times when you need a palms down gesture instead of a palms up gesture. You know, imagine if you're in a classroom and you say, okay kids, quiet down, quiet down. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. So you've got to use that. But Ds are dominantly using high-powered signals in their body language. And Jim loved this when I first did this, because Ds have a tendency to talk with their hands, and they talk with them down and they talk with them out. So if you're talking to a woman, Ds, if you are any Ds out here, when you're talking to a woman and you're in this proximity with them and you start making a point and you're telling them all this stuff, you're groping the woman and she is very uncomfortable. So don't turn your hands towards her, turn them away from you if you're up close. One of the things that I teach in body language, this is very quick and easy to go through, is body language pi. Body language pi is the 3 primary gestures that we use when we speak. Okay? And they are pacifiers, illustrators, and emblematic gestures. You see these all the time. One of them will destroy your speech, 2 of them will enhance your speech, and 1 of them actually will supercharge your speech. The first one is P, and this is the one that will destroy your presentations. P is pacifiers. Now they are exactly what you would expect them to be. A pacifying gesture goes back all the way to when we were little, and you imagine anything that your mom or dad would have done to calm you down, or grandma, you know, it's okay, you're all right, you know, all this stuff, all this touching. You know, when you see somebody doing that, they're very anxious, they're very nervous, very stressed. You'll see men fix their collar, you know, adjust their cufflinks, you know, they'll pick fluff, all kinds of things all these are pacifiers. They're trying to calm themselves down. They've gone into fight flight and they're doing their best to bleed off that energy and get back down to homeostasis. They want to get back into control. So, like when a person is speaking for the first time, you'll see them do all kinds of this stuff. You know, they'll be rubbing their hands together, you know, or they'll wring their hands, or they'll be scratching the back of their neck, all this stuff. Then you know it's anxiety. It may or may not be deceptive, but it is definitely a sign of anxiety. So any gesture where you're doing that, touching yourself, especially your face, is a pacifier, and you don't want to do these in your presentations, whether you're speaking to a group or whether you're speaking one-on-one. You want to manage those pacifiers. The next one is illustrators, and you've seen me do a lot of illustrators here today. Illustrators are hand gestures where they are using them as basically body language punctuation to your speech. So when I'm talking, I'm moving my hands around, I'm open palmed when I'm talking about stuff. If I need to describe something, like if I'm talking about a ball, I may draw the ball out, or if I'm talking about a big house, you know, there's all kinds of ways that I can use body language for punctuation. These are conscious and unconscious, and there's some things in deception analysis that I'll tell you about those. But because a chop is an illustrative gesture. How many have ever seen somebody chop when they speak? They're making a point and they chop all the way through the point. Especially a D-type personality may do this a lot because they're wanting to get through to you. Okay, I'll just go ahead and split. When a person is lying, their subconscious mind or their conscious mind cannot keep up with the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is getting out of sync. So when you see somebody chop and their chop is not in sync with what, it's really hard to do, is not in sync with what they're saying, then you know that there's a problem, because there's incongruence there. Bill Clinton's famous speech, he did that. I did not have sexual relationship with that woman. And his chops were all over the place. None of them were in sync. So that was one indication that he lied. And there's about, you could write a page of stuff on what he did. But having your gestures in sync, that's what we were talking about with the handshake. You know, handshake going at the right time, the right way. So these are illustrators. Now the last one, which is the most important, are emblematic gestures. Emblematic gestures are exactly what they sound like. They're emblems. So there are things that in our society, and these are not always international. Some of them are, but some of them aren't. So you got to be really careful and know the emblems in your country that you're speaking in, or you could get friends you don't want and get in bad trouble. But an emblem in our culture, if I do this, what does that mean? Okay. You don't need me to say anything. I don't need to say this, okay? Because that, unless I was using it as an illustrator. But I can do that and you know what it means. I can do, oh gosh, I can clap and you know what it means. I can do the peace sign, you know what it means. One interesting one that is universal, they took kids that were blind from birth, and put them in competition. When the kids won, they all did the same thing. That's an international, that's an inborn gesture that people make. So it's pretty cool. But the emblems, things like, well, one of the biggest ones is the middle finger. When somebody gives you the middle finger, you know exactly what it means, right? But it's unlikely that you're going to sit in a meeting and fly the bird to somebody, right? I mean, how often do you have somebody, she's like, you know, that's really a stupid idea. Yeah, I used the wrong finger on purpose. I'm filming. But you will see people flip each other off in politics, in business meetings, even at home. You know, if I say, you know, Jim, that was a really great idea. Well, I touched my face, I flipped him off, and so, you know, there's pretty good indication that I really didn't think much of that idea. But you'll see that all the time. You see people in meetings sitting here like this, resting their hand while they listen to somebody that they don't want to hear. And it's not something that they're doing consciously. It is completely subconscious. It's the subconscious mind leaking the truth, because the subconscious cannot lie. The limbic system and the R complex, or the reptile brain, have no capacity for lying. They cannot do it. So that's a great way to see. Anytime you see an emblem, it's pretty much real. The other thing that you'll notice when people speak, if you see a person do this, if I say, you know, I think that you should buy my training, and I'm sitting here like this because I think it's the best thing for you, you will never see a person lie when their hands are like that, or like that. Steepled hands, you almost never see a person lie when they make that gesture. It's a very powerful gesture, and it's a controlling gesture, but it is one of the most honest gestures that there is.